The Plum in the Golden Vase, Chongzhen edition of Embroidered Portraits, Chapter 62. Taoist Pan dispatches the yellow turbans. Simon King bursts into tears and Leaping Earth poem says, the jade hairpin overlaps, and the two have no fate. The fish is in the deep pool, and the crane is in the sky. The proud purple Luan stopped dancing in the mirror, and it was rumored that the blue bird stopped holding the paper. The golden basin has been overturned and it is difficult to collect the water. The jade cage is long and cannot be extended. If you pass by the foot of Myowu Mountain, you will see red tears sprinkled on Kyungkwan in the distance. It is said that when Simon King saw that Li Ping'er's medicine was ineffective, he asked God to ask for advice, but it was all bad and no good, and there was no way to deal with it. At first, Li Ping'er was still combing her hair, washing her face, and getting off the cane to sit on the toilet. Later, she gradually ate less and became emaciated. After a while, she turned into a flower-like person, as thin as a yellow leaf, did not get up from the cane, and only spread straw paper on the mattress. Afraid of being disgusted by others, I taught the girl to only burn incense. Simon King saw that his arms were as thin as silver bars. He just stayed in the room and cried, and went to the Yamen every other day for a walk. Li Ping'er said, my brother, if you still go to the Yamen, I'm afraid I'll miss your business. I don't care. I'll just suffer the loss. If I can stop it, I can open my mouth again and eat some more. Just eat and drink. What are you doing here, man? Simon King cried, my sister, I can't bear to see you. Li Ping'er said, okay, fool, if you don't die, you won't be able to stop them in the future. Then he said, I have something to say to you. I don't know why, but no one is in the room, and I am just afraid, as if there is someone vaguely coming. I dreamed of him at night, wielding a knife and a stick, yelling with me, and the child was in his arms. I went to snatch it away, but he pushed me away, saying that he had bought another house, and he came and pestered me several times. I can't tell you. After hearing this, Simon King said, I know where he has gone in the past few years. What kind of evil spirits are there? I'm going to Wu Daoguan Temple to ask for the talismans and stick them on the door to see if there are any evil spirits. After saying that, he walked to the front and sent Diane to ride Tuku to the Jade Emperor Temple to ask for the talisman. When I walked to the road, I met Ying Pingju and Zi Zaida, and they hurriedly nodded. The Earl asked, where are you going? Is your father at home? Diane said, Dad is at home, and the younger one is going to the Jade Emperor Temple to ask for amulets. The Earl and Zizide arrived at Simon King's house, because he said, Zizichin, hearing that my sister-in-law was not good, I was startled and came to say hello. Simon King said, I have lost weight in the past 2 days. I can't get up or get down. But how can I do this? Said, brother, what are you doing to send Diane to the temple? Simon Qingshi told Li Ping'er what he was afraid of. I'm just afraid of evil spirits, so I taught the boy to get the talismans to suppress them. See, Shi Dao Dao, brother. This is my sister-in-law's weak spirit. What evil spirits are there? The count said, brother, it is not difficult to drive away evil spirits. Taoist Pan is watching the 5 mountains outside the door. He has received the 5 thunders of heaven's heart. He is very good at driving away evil spirits. Pan is famous for catching ghosts and often using fushui to save people. Brother, please send someone to come and see if there is any evil in your sister-in-law's room. You can teach him how to cure it, and he can cure it. King said, wait to ask for the Wu Dao official talisman to see where you can live. There is nothing you can do, so you lead the young man to ride to Tuku and invite him. The Earl said, don't worry, wait for me to go. It's a pity to see my sister-in-law. I will leave with my head on the ground. After saying this, the Earl and Haida got up and left. Danner asked for a talisman and posted it in the room. In the evening, Li Ping'er was still scared and said to Simon King, he's dead. He came to fetch me with 2 people just now. When he saw you coming in, he hid out. Simon King said, don't believe in evil. It's okay. Yesterday I was supposed to. The second brother said, this is because you are extremely weak. He said that there is a Taoist priest Pan in the Wu Yu temple outside the door. He is good at healing water and is good at treating evil spirits. I will teach Count Ying to invite him to see you tomorrow morning. What evil spirits are there? Teach him to send him away. Li Ping'er said, my brother, please come early. He just left in anger, but but he will come to fetch me tomorrow. Simon King said, if you are afraid, I will send a young man to pick up Wu Yin'er in a sedan chair and keep you company for 2 days. Li Ping'er shook his head and said, don't call him. I'm afraid you will miss his family activities. Simon King said, how about asking Lao Feng to wait on you for 2 days? Li Ping'er nodded. Simon King called Lian to the house over there to call Mother Feng, but she was not there, so he locked the door and went out. He said to Yi Changking, wait for him to come. At least teach him to come to the house quickly. Liu Niang will call him. Simon King sent Dan down again. Get up early tomorrow. Yu Anying's father will go outside to watch the 5 mountains. Taoist Pan, go? It doesn't matter. The next day, I saw Aunt Wang carrying a box of japonica rice, 20 large milk cakes, and a small box of 10 flavored melons and eggplants. When Li Ping'er saw him coming, he quickly taught Yingxun to help him sit up. Aunt Wang asked, and Li Ping'er asked him to sit down and said, Master Wang, you have been away since the time of printing scriptures. I can't see you in the shadow. I am not well. Why don't you come and see me? Aunt Wang said, my grandma, I don't know that you are not good at all. I only found out yesterday when my aunt sent a senior official to the nunnery. They are also talking about printing scriptures. You don't know that I am in love with the old prostitute Aunt Sue. I'm so angry. I printed a suture with you, but I only caught the net for him. I paid 5 taels of silver to the suture printer behind my back, but I didn't see any money from you. This old man is a blessing. The adulterer will fall into the Abi hell tomorrow. I am so angry with him that I missed my birthday and never came. Li Ping'er said, let him do his own thing. Don't be with him. There's an argument. Aunt Wang said, who is arguing with him? Li Ping'er said, Auntie, I'm really annoyed with you, saying that you have misunderstood him. Aunt Wang said, my bodhisattva, I am. Although it was not good, I dared to miss his sutra. I recited it at home for a month, and it was completed yesterday. I went to see him later and told him all my regrets. Liu Niang is not good. It's nothing. This box of japonica rice, some 10 flavored claws, and a few pieces of milk cake. Let's eat porridge with you. My aunt asked Sister Xiao Yu to bring me to see you. Xiao Yu opened the box and Li Ping'er looked at it. He said, thank you for your trouble. Aunt Wang said, Sister Yingxun, steam just 2 pieces of this milk cake, and I'll watch your mother eat some porridge. Yingxun accepted it. Li Ping'er told Yingxun, place tea to have with Master Wang. Aunt Wang said, I just had tea in the aunt's house behind. I'll cook some porridge. I'll watch you eat some. After a while, the table was set up for the spring festival, and 4 kinds of tea and snacks were placed. Aunt Wang was sent to eat, and then he brought Li Ping'er porridge, a plate of 10 spice, sweet pickled melon and eggplant, a plate of steamed yellow frost cream cake, and 2 cups of japonica rice porridge, a pair of small tooth chopsticks. Yingxun took it, and Ryer held the pot next to her. After feeding her for half a day, she only sipped 2 or 3 mouthfuls of porridge and bit some milk cakes, then shook her head and stopped eating, saying, take it over here. Aunt Wang, people live on water and food, said Li Ping'er. Can you eat some of the fried porridge? Li Ping'er said, I have to be able to eat it. Yingxun turned over the tea table. Aunt Wang took off the quilts and saw that Li Ping'er's body was all gone. She was startled and said, my grandma, you were better when I went there, but you are not good again. You are so thin. Is it better? Ryer said, you know it's better. My mother was sick because of anger. Dad asked the imperial doctor to see her. She took medicine every day and she was 70 to 80% better. It's not good to be frightened. My mother is worried day and night, working so hard and can't even sleep. I really hope that my brother will be better. I don't want to cry all day long, and I have that dark energy, and I am angry in my heart. Just like a stone man. I can't help it. Why don't I get sick again? I'm a little angry, and it's okay to break it down in front of others, but my mother doesn't say anything. So why don't I ask? Mrs. Wang said, then don't tell me. Are you angry? Your father loves him, and your aunt respects him. There are 5 or 6 mothers on the left and right. Who is angry with him? With the door closed, he said. My mother was so angry at Wu Niang over there. He took advantage of his brother over there and frightened her into the wind. When Dad came home, he asked, Mother, I just didn't say it. The lagging aunt told me that she killed the cat. He still didn't admit it and took advantage of me. In August, when my brother died, he pointed at the mulberry tree and scolded the locust tree every day. My mother clearly heard that there was someone in the house who was angry and secretly angry. That was why she became so ill. God knows. The good things are in the heart, and the bad things are also in the heart. Among the sisters, no one has a piece of clothing that he likes, but he doesn't wear it until someone else has it. Mother, but what you said is that you were cheating on your mother without telling her. Lady Wang said, why don't you tell me? Ryer said, Grandma Pan over there, please give me a try. When my father was resting there, I came over to this room to be with my mother. When I left, why didn't my mother give him his shoes, clothes, and money? Li Ping'er didn't know what to do. Then she was angry with Ryer. What do you think, wife? You just talk about him. I am already dead. Let him alone. The sky does not speak, but it is proud. And the earth does not speak, but it is rich. Aunt Wang said, I Lord Buddha, who is as kind-hearted as you, God has eyes to see what good will come of you in the future. Li Ping'er said, Master Wang, you can't even save a child. I'm gone. Now that I'm dying, I'm going to be a ghost even if I'm suffering from such a disease. I still want to give Master Wang some money. I hope you can take care of me at home when I die tomorrow. Masters, please recite the Blood Basin Sutra more and repent of my sins. Wang Yuzi said, My Bodhisattva, you are so worried. You are such a kind-hearted person. And the dragon heaven will protect you. As she was doing this, Qin Tunger came in and said to Yingxun, Father ordered the room to be tidied up. And Uncle Hua came in to see Mother and sit in front. Aunt Wang then stood up and said, I'll go to the back for a walk. Li Ping'er said, Master Wang, don't go. Please stay with me for 2 days. I will still talk to you. Aunt Wang said, My grandma, I won't go. After a while, Simon King accompanied Uncle Hua to come in and ask questions. He saw Li Ping'er sleeping on the king without saying a word. Huazi said, I don't know. I only found out yesterday when I heard the official here talking. Tomorrow your sister-in-law will come to see you. Li Ping'er just said, You're good to go and turned inward. Hanako sat down for a while, then stood up and went to the front and said to Simon King, My late husband was guarding Guangnan. Have you ever taken the Panax Notoginseng medicine he brought? No matter whether the woman is suffering from metrorrhagia or metrorrhagia, she can mix it with 5 minutes of wine. Moer, just take it and stop. Sister, he has this medicine in his hand. Why don't you take it? Simon King said, Yesterday, Hu Dan from Japan came to visit me. I mentioned this disease to him. He also told me a recipe, drink brown charcoal and white cockscomb flowers. It only lasted for 1 day. On the second day, the bleeding was even worse. Brother-in-law, this is difficult to do, Hanako said. You should look after the deputy for him and prepare him. His sister-in-law will come to see him tomorrow. After that, he got up and went. Nazi and Yingxun were putting straw paper under their bodies with Li Ping'er when they saw Mother Feng coming and saying blessings to them. Ryer said, Mother Feng, noble lady, why don't you come and see your mother? Yesterday, my father came to Anner to ask you to go and said you locked the door. Where are you going? Mrs. Feng said, I can't explain how miserable I am. All day long I went to the temple to practice Buddhism and went out in the morning. It was not until dark, but it was not until I came home, but there were those monks Zhang, Li, and Wang. Ryer said, Why didn't you, old man, have these monks earlier? Master Wang is here. After hearing this, Li Ping'er smiled and said, Mom, just do it alone. Ryer said, Mother Feng, why don't you come when I call you? Today, I don't want to eat porridge either. I'm just impatient. You just came and made my mother smile. Please stay with me for 2 days and your mother's illness will be cured. Mother Feng said, I'm your mother's doctor. He smiled again. Yin touched his body under the quilt and said, My mother, you're just feeling better. Then he asked, How can you get down from sitting on the coffin? Yingxun said, It's better if you get down from it. The first 2 times, when my mother returned home, I helped her down, laying straw on the king, 2 or 3 times a day. Just as he was talking, Simon King came in, saw Feng's mother, and said, Old Feng, you often come here for a walk. Why don't you come back? The mother-in-law said, My lord, why don't I come back? Come, I'll make tubuks while pickling vegetables in the house, so that I can eat them with him if I encounter some karma. Simon King said, Don't you tell me. Yesterday I served 2 or 3 dishes to you in the village. The mother-in-law said, I dare to pester you again. After saying that, she went to the other side of the house. Simon King sat on the edge of the kang, burning ruined scents in the spring. Simon King then asked, How do you feel today? He then asked Yingxun, Hasn't your mother eaten some porridge in the morning? Yingxun said, It's a good meal. Master Wang sent milk cakes and steamed them, but my mother only bit them. Some of them couldn't take more than 2 sips of porridge and soup, so they left it behind. Simon King said, Second brother Ying and the young man invited Taoist Pan outside the door just now, but I'll teach him to come and invite him again tomorrow. Li Ping'er said, Go ahead and invite me. That guy. But close your eyes and just hang around me. Simon King said, This is because you are weak. Just keep your mind straight. Don't worry. Suspect him. Ask him to send this evil spirit away for you and give him some medicine. You'll be fine. Li Ping'er said, My brother, I already have this disease. How can I get better? What? I expected to be reunited with you for a few years. As a couple, who would have thought that now, at the age of 27, my enemy has died, and I am so unlucky that I have abandoned you. I will only meet you again when the door of hell is closed. As he said this, he held Simon King's hand. His eyes burst into tears, and he choked with sobs that he could no longer cry. Simon King was in grief again and cried, My sister, if you have anything to say, just say it. The two were crying in the room, and suddenly they saw Qin Tunger coming in and said, I promise, Dad, tomorrow is the 15th day. I'm going to pay homage to him in the Yemen, and I'm going to give him a big handout. Are you going to take care of me? Simon King said, I can't go there tomorrow. I'll take the post back to Father Jia and pay homage myself. Ken. Tong Yingluo went. Li Ping'er said, My brother, please follow me and go to the Yemen. Don't miss the official business. I know when I will die. It's still early. Simon King said, I will keep you at home for 2 days, and you will feel at ease. Just relax and stop worrying too much. Just now, Uncle Hua told me to take a look at Fang Shumu and take care of you. Li Ping'er nodded, then said, Forget it. Don't trust me and spend that stupid money. I will use a dozen or so taels of silver to buy a pair of clinker materials and bury me next to the tomb of the foreigner. You can just burn me. We are husband and wife. Sooner or later I will grab some milk. It will be more convenient. You have so many people. You will have to live in the future. Simon King refused to listen. Hearing it was like a knife cutting out his liver and gallbladder, and a sword filing his body and mind. Crying, My sister, what are you talking about? I, Simon King, am so poor that I will not let you down. As they were talking, Yu Niang came in with a small box of fresh apples and said, Sisterly, his aunt sent you some apples. She told Yingxun, Wash them and cut them into pieces for your mother to eat. Li Ping'er said, Thank you for your concern, aunt. Soon, Yingxun peeled the skin, cut them, put them in a bowl, picked up a piece, put it in her mouth, chewed it a little, and spit it out. Yu Niang was afraid that he was tired, so she made him sleep with his face inwards. Simon King and Yu Niang went out to discuss. Yu Niang said, Sisterly, I think he is a little depressed. You must look at a pair of boards for him as soon as possible, so as to avoid being caught at the last minute and not being able to make a good board. Simon King said, Brother Hua said the same thing today. I just talked to him about it, and he said, Don't spend too much money. Just pick up a familiar pair of boards. You have so many people to feed, and you still have to make a living. It made me sad for a while. I said Yifa and others should ask Taoist Pan to come and look at the boards. Let him go and look at the boards. Yu Niang said, You see, it's not clear yet. The human form has been taken off. The gates are locked, and no water can be taken in. And still hope for good. We are beating the drum while polishing the flag. Fortunately, he has recovered. It is not worth much to give the coffin away to others. Simon King said, If that's what you said, he went out to the hall, called Ben Si, and asked him, Who has good wood boards? You and your brother-in-law bring some silver to look at a pair. Ben Si said, Chen Qian, whose family on the street has just received a few good boards. Simon King said, Since there are good boards, he ordered Chen Jingji, You go ask your mother for 5 large silver ingots, and you two can take a look. Chen Jingshi hurriedly went in to get 5 ingots of silver and left with Ben Si. It was not until the afternoon that he replied, saying, I went to Chen Qianhu's house to look at a few boards. They were all of average quality, and the price was not right. On the way back, I ran into Qiao's father-in-law, who said that Shang Juren's family had a good pair of boards. It turned out that Shang Juren's father brought 2 pairs of peach blossom holes for his old lady when he was a magistrate in Chengdu Prefecture, Sichuan. He used 1 pair and only had this one left. It had wall knockers, bottom covers, and plugs, a total of 5 large and small pieces, and he wanted 370 taels of silver. Qiao's father-in-law and I went to look at it. The board was extremely good. Qiao's father-in-law talked with the Joran for half a day and only returned 50 taels of silver. If it wasn't for the trial use of these taels of silver in the capital next year, he would still be reluctant to sell it. Simon King said, Since 'tis your father-in-law Qiao's idea, bring it for 320 taels, and don't just ring the bell and beat the drum. Chen Jingshi said, he took our 250 taels and give him 70 taels of silver, while asking Yu Niang for another 70 taels of silver. The 2 of them left. When it was dusk, a few idle men came in with a board wrapped in red felt strips and placed it in the front hall. When Simon King opened it, he saw that it was indeed a good board. He immediately asked the craftsman to saw it open, and there was a fragrance inside. Each board was 5 inches thick, 2 feet and 5 inches wide, and 7 feet and 5 inches long. He was very happy to see it. He then asked the Earl to come and see it, and said, This board is also good. The Earl applauded and said, It is said that it is a marriage board. Generally speaking, everything must have one owner. My sister-in-law married my brother, and today this board is enough for her. He ordered the craftsman, If you work hard and do a good job, your father will reward you with 5 taels of silver. The craftsman said, I know. He worked hard in the front hall, making it overnight. The Earl told Libo, Go and invite Taoist Pan at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. If he comes, come with him and don't delay. After that, he accompanied Simon King in the front hall to watch the wood being made, and went home at the 1 o'clock. Simon King said, Come earlier tomorrow. I'm afraid Taoist Pan will come early. The Earl said, I know. He said goodbye and went out. But Lao Feng and Wang Yuzi were with Li Pinger in the evening. Simon King left in front and came in to see her. He wanted to sleep in the room. Li Pinger refused and said, It's dirty in this room. It's not convenient for him to stay here all the time. You can sleep somewhere else. Simon King saw Wang Yuzi was here, so he went to Jinlian's room over there. Li Pinger asked Yingchun to close the corner door and lock it, and asked Yingchun to light the lamp, open the box, take out some clothes and silver jewelry, and put them aside. First, she called over Nun Wang and gave her a silver ingot weighing 5 taels and a piece of silk. After I die, please ask some monks to recite the blood basin sutra with me. Nun Wang said, My grandmother, you worry too much. God have mercy on you. I hope you will be better. Li Pinger said, Just keep it, and don't tell you that I gave you the silver. Just say that I gave you this piece of silk as money for the sutra. Nun Wang said, I know. Then she took the silver and silk. She called Mother Feng over, took 4 taels of silver, a white silk jacket, a yellow silk skirt, and a silver brush from beside the pillow, and handed them to her, saying, Old Feng, you are an old friend. You have been with me since I was a child. I am going to die now, and I have nothing left. I will give you this set of clothes, and these jewelry as a token of my love. You can keep this silver and use it as a coffin tomorrow. Don't worry, I will tell your father about the house over there, and you can just live there and think of it as keeping an eye on it for him. He won't chase you away. Mother Feng took the silver and clothes in one hand, bowed down, and cried, I am unlucky. As long as you are alive, you will be my master. If anything happens to you, where will I go? Li Pinger called her wet nurse Ryer over and gave her a purple silk jacket, a blue silk skirt, and an old silk jacket. The nurse gave the boy 2 gold-hatted hairpins and a silver crown, and said, You were my nurse. When my son died, I told you not to nurse me. I really hoped that as long as I was alive, I could occupy you for another day. But I died now. I also told your father and your mother that when I die tomorrow, your mother will give birth to my son, and she will let your nurse take him in. I'll give you these clothes for a while. And don't complain." The nurse knelt on the ground, kowtowed and cried, "I really hoped to serve you until the end of my life, but you never treated me well. It's my bad luck that my son died and you are so sick. At least tell you that I'm no longer a man, and you can only ask your parents for their permission. Where can I go if I go out?" After saying this, she took the clothes and jewelry, kowtowed, stood aside, and just wiped her tears. Li Ping'er called Yingchen and Shuchen over and asked them to kneel down. She said, "You too. You promised me when you were little. Now that I am dead, I will not care about you. You have your own clothes, so I don't need to give them to you. I will give you 2 pairs of gold hairpins and 2 golden flowers as a token of my love." Yingchun, the eldest maid, has been taken in by her father and cannot leave. I will ask her to stay in your aunt's room. As for Shuchen, the little maid, I will ask your aunt to find a family and you can go out. You don't have to be criticized in this room for being a slave without a master. When I die, you will be able to show your true colors. You are serving others as if you were my servant. You are so coquettish and foolish. Whether you are good or bad, who can tolerate you? Shuchen knelt on the ground and cried, "My mother, I will never leave this door even if I die." Li Ping'er said, "Look, silly girl, if I die, who will you serve in this room?" Shuchen said, "I will guard my mother's spirit." Li Ping'er said, "Even if it is my spirit, it will not be long before it is cremated, and you will have to go out." Shuchen said, "Yingchen and I have promised you." Li Ping'er said, "That's fine." Shuchen didn't know what to say. Yingchen heard Li Ping'er's instructions, took the jewelry, and cried so hard that she couldn't say a word. It is just like this. Tearful eyes look at tearful eyes. Heartbroken people send heartbroken people. That night, Li Ping'er gave instructions to everyone. At dawn, Simon King walked into the room. Li Ping'er asked, "Has the coffin for me arrived?" Simon King said, "They brought the board here yesterday and are making it in the front. Let me tell you, when you are better, you might as well give it to someone else." Li Ping'er then asked, "How much silver did you buy it for? Don't waste it." Simon King said, "Not much. Just about 100 taels of silver." Li Ping'er said, "It's more than enough. Prepare it and leave it to me." After Simon King said this, he came out and went to the front to watch the materials being made. Wu Yunyang and Li Zhaoer came into the room first. Seeing that he was very depressed, they asked, "Sister Li, how are you feeling?" Li Ping'er grabbed Yunyang's hand and cried, "Madam, I can't get well." Yunyang also cried, "Sister Li, what do you want to say?" "Second madam is here too. Talk to us." Li Ping'er said, "What do I have to say? Madam and I have been sisters for several years and you have never wronged me. I really hoped to be with you until we grow old. I didn't expect that I had a miserable life and lost my friend first. Now, unfortunately, I have contracted this stupid disease and died. After I die, there will be no one to take care of the 2 maids in the room. The elder maid has been taken in by her father, so let her serve you in your room. If you want to use the little maid, please keep her. Otherwise, find a single wife and let her marry you, so that people won't scold her as a slave without a master. She has served me well, and I will die with my mouth and eyes closed." Ryer, the son, refused to go out again and again. The eldest lady also saw my position as a nurse. Tomorrow, when the mother gives birth to a son, she will let him take over the nurse. Yu Nang said, "Sister Li, don't worry, everything is up to us too. If there is a problem, Yingchen will let him serve me, and Shuchen will let him serve Ernayang." Now the maids in Ernayang's room were not honest, and they will be sent out sooner or later. Let Shuchen serve him. "What, Nurse Ryer, since you said he didn't go to the house, where can we not occupy him? Even if I have children or not, I can match him with a servant tomorrow and make him a daughter-in-law of the family." Li Zhaoer said beside him, "Sister Li, don't worry, everything is up to us too. Shu Chen will clean up the room and serve me after you are done tomorrow, and I will promote him." Li Ping'er called the nurse and the 2 maids over and kowtowed to them. Yu Nang couldn't help crying. Soon, Yu Yulu, Pan Jinlian, and Sun Zui came to see him, and Li Ping'er left a few words of sisterly kindness. Li Zhaoer, Yu Lu, and Jinlian, who were waiting behind, all went out, leaving Yu Nang alone to watch over him. Li Ping'er quietly cried to Yu Niang, "Mother, take good care of him tomorrow, and make him his father's root. Don't be careless like me and plot against him." Yu Niang said, "Sister, I know." Dear readers, just this one sentence touched Yu Niang's heart. The next time Simon King died, Jin Lian could not live comfortably at home, thinking of Li Ping'er's last words. It was exactly only by being grateful and accumulating hatred can you stay away from dust for thousands of years. As they were talking, Qin Tong ordered the room to be cleaned up and incense burned, and the Five Mountains Temple invited Judge Pan to come. Yu Niang watched and told the maid to clean up the room, serve clean tea and water, and burn lily incense. Yu Niang and the other women hid in the bedroom over there to listen. After a while, Simon King led the Taoist priest Pan in. What did he look like? He wore a cloud-shaped Five Mountains crown, a short brown robe with black cloth, a colorful silk belt around his waist, and a horizontal bronze sword on his back. He wore double-eared hemp shoes and held a five-pointed ghost-subduing fan in his hand. He had splayed eyebrows, two almond-shaped eyes, a square mouth, and a beard. He was majestic and handsome. If he wasn't a tourist from the clouds, he must be from Penglai Jade Palace. Taoist Pan entered the corner gate, just turned around the screen wall, and was about to walk to the base of the corridor of Li Ping'er's room. The Taoist retreated to steps, as if to scold him. After speaking a few words, he opened the curtains on both sides and entered the room, and came to the sect. He used his double eyes to look at the sword in his hand, pinched his fingers and stepped on the magic circle, muttering something, and knew what he meant. He walked out of the main room and set up an incense table outside. Simon King burned incense, and Taoist Pan burned talismans, and shouted, "Got on duty. What are you waiting for?" He spit out a mouthful of magic water and went away. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew up from the steps, as if a god appeared in front of him. Taoist Pan said, "There is a ghost named Li in Simon's family who is uneasy and has come to me for help. You should immediately arrest the local land god and the 6 gods of the family to investigate. If there is any evil spirit, please capture it without delay." After a long time, Taoist Pan closed his eyes and turned into a god. He sat upright on the seat and tapped the token on the table, as if he was asking questions. It took a long time before he stopped. When he came out, Simon King asked him to go to the front shed and asked him why. Taoist Pan said, "It's a pity that this lady has complained to the underworld for her past life grievances. She is not an evil spirit and cannot be captured." Simon King said, "Can the judge help her?" Taoist Pan said, "The creditor must be found in person. Even the underworld officials cannot force him." Seeing that Simon King was polite and pious, he asked, "How old is your wife?" Simon King said, "She was born in the year of the sheep, so she is 27 years old." Taoist Pan said, "Well, let me offer sacrifices to her Natal star altar. See how his Natal lamp is." Simon King asked, "When will the sacrifice be made? What kind of incense paper will be used as the offering?" Taoist Pan said, "It will be at midnight tonight. Use white ash to outline and build a lamp altar, surround it with yellow silk, and suppress it with a birthday altar. The offering will be made with 5 grains and jujube soup, no dried wine, only 27 Natal lamps, and float on the altar with a canopy. There is nothing else. The official can fast and wear green clothes, prostrate himself in the altar, pay homage. I will offer the sacrifice. All chickens and dogs are locked up and no one is allowed to come in to disturb." Simon King listened and hurriedly ordered everything to be prepared. He did not dare to go in, but bathed and fasted in the study and changed into clean clothes. Liu Yingboju also did not go home, and accompanied Taoist Pan to eat vegetarian food. At midnight, the lamp altar was fully built, and Taoist Pan sat on it. Below was the lamp altar, with 3 canopies built on top according to the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. The 12 zodiac signs were ranged around it, and the Natal lamps were at the bottom, totaling 27 lamps. First, the words were read out. Simon King, wearing a green robe, prostrated himself on the steps. All the people around him left, and no one was allowed to stay. The candles were bright, and they all started to call for the generals. Taoist Pan, on the throne, took off his hair, held a sword, and chanted something. He looked up at the sky, took the true energy, and stepped on the altar. It was exactly 3 letters burned in incense, and the 3 realms merged. One command was followed by a thunder. The moon was bright in the clear sky, and suddenly the sky was dark and a strange wind blew. It was not the roar of a tiger, but the roar of a dragon. It seemed to enter the house through the curtains, and it must be to make the flowers fall, push the clouds out of the mountains, and send the rain back to the river. The lost geese cried together, and the startled gulls and herons looked for the tops of the trees. Chang'e hurriedly closed the moon palace, and Lizzie called for help from the sky. The strong wind passed 3 times, and suddenly a cold air came, blowing out all the 27 Ital lamps of Li Pinger. Taoist Pan clearly saw a man in white leading to men in green coming in from outside, holding a document in his hand and presenting it under the law. Taoist Pan looked at it and saw that it was a seal from the underworld with 3 seals on it. He was frightened and hurriedly got off the throne and called Simon King forward, saying, "Sir, please get up. My wife has already sinned against the heavens. There is no prayer. The Natal lamp has gone out. How can it be saved? It is only a matter of time." Simon King bowed his head and was speechless. Tears welled up in his eyes, and begged, "Master, I hope you can save me." Taoist Pan said, "It is inevitable. There is no way to save me." He was about to leave. Simon King repeatedly asked to stay. "Wait until tomorrow to leave early." Taoist Pan said, "Monks sleep in the open air and live in temples in the mountains. This is the way of nature." Simon King did not force him to stay. He ordered his attendants to take out a piece of cloth and 3 taels of white gold as money for the sutra. Taoist Pan said, "I follow the way of heaven and have sworn to heaven. I dare not covet worldly wealth, and it is inconvenient to commit a crime." After refusing again and again, he only asked the boy to collect the cloth and make it into a Taoist robe. And then he said goodbye and laughed. He told Simon King, "Sir, don't go to the patient's room tonight, or it may bring harm to you. Be careful, be careful." After saying this, he walked out the door and left in a huff. Simon King returned to the pavilion and watched the lanterns being cleaned up. Seeing that there was no savior, he was very sad and looked at the Earl, tears streaming down his face. The Earl said, "This is the lifespan given to each person. At this point, it cannot be forced. Brother, don't worry too much, because it was 4 o'clock in the morning." He said, "Brother, you have worked hard, take a rest. I will go home and come back tomorrow." Simon King said, "Tell the servant to take the lantern to send you." He immediately asked Lion to take the lantern and send the Earl out, and then closed the door and came in. Simon King sat alone in the study, holding a candle, feeling grief-stricken and sighing. He thought, "The judge told me not to go into the room. How can I bear it? I would rather die. I must stay with him and talk to him." So he went into the room, seeing Li Pinger sleeping with her face inward. When she heard Simon King come in, she turned over and said, "My brother, why didn't you come in?" So she asked, "What did the Taoist say when he lit the lamp?" Simon King said, "Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with the lamp." Li Pinger said, "My brother, you are still fooling me. Just now that guy came with 2 people and made a fuss in front of me, and said, 'Please ask the magician to send me away. I have already declared that I will never let you go in the underworld. He left in anger, and he will come to arrest me tomorrow." When Simon King heard this, tears flowed down his cheeks and he burst into tears. "My sister, you must set your mind right and ignore him. I really hoped to be with you for a few days, but who knew that you would leave me again? I would rather have me, Simon King, die than have your heart broken." Li Pinger hugged Simon King's neck with both hands, sobbing and crying sadly. And she couldn't cry for half a day. She said, "My brother, I hope to grow old with you, but who would have thought that I would die today? While I am still awake, I have a few words to say to you. You have a big family to worry about, and you are alone and have no help. You should be careful about everything and don't act rashly. Auntie, don't let him down. If he is not well, he will give you a hard time sooner or later, so as not to disrupt your family affairs. You are an official, so don't go there to drink too much in the future. Come home early. Your family affairs are more important. You can't do it without me here to advise you sooner or later. If I die, who will be willing to advise you?" Simon King was shocked when he heard this. as if a knife was cutting her heart. She cried, "My sister, I know what you mean, please don't worry about me. I, Simon King, was separated from you in my previous life, and I can't be your husband and wife in this life. It hurts me so much. God is killing me." Li Ping'er also gave instructions about Yingchen and Shu Chun. "I have already told her eldest mother that when I die tomorrow, Yingchun will serve her eldest mother. As for the little maid, her second mother has already hired her. If there is no one in her room, let her serve the second mother." Simon King said, "My sister, you have nothing to say. After you die, who will dare to separate your maid? The wet nurse didn't even send him away. Tell him to guard your spirit." Li Ping'er said, "What spirit? Just tell him to go back to the spirit master and burn it after the 57th day." Simon King said, "My sister, don't worry about him. As long as I, Simon King, am here, I will take care of you." While the two were talking, Li Ping'er urged, "Go to sleep. It's late." Simon King said, "I won't sleep. I will stay in this room to guard you and my son." Li Ping'er said, "It's too early for me to die. This room is filthy and it will make you feel uncomfortable. It's inconvenient for him to serve me." Simon King had no choice but to tell the maid, "Take good care of your mother." Later in the room next door, he told Yunyang all about the failure of the Lantern Festival. "Just now I went to his room and I saw that he was still talking fluently. God pity, I'm afraid he may not survive." Yunyang said, "His eye sockets are sunken, his lips are dry, and his earlobes are burnt. What's the good of him? It's only in the morning and evening. He is so fluent with this disease that he can still talk before he dies." Simon King said, "He has been in our house for several years. He has never offended anyone, big or small. He has a good temper and doesn't talk. What do you want me to give up on him?" He cried again when he mentioned it. Yunyang couldn't stop crying. Let's not talk about Simon King talking to Yunyang. Let's talk about Li Ping'er calling Yingchun and the nurse. "Help me lie down facing inward." So he asked, "How much time is it?" The nurse said, "The cock hasn't crowed yet. It's already 4 o'clock." Yingchun was asked to spread straw paper under him, and he faced inward, covered himself with a quilt, and fell asleep. Everyone stayed up all night, and Lao Feng and Wang Yuzi had already gone to bed. Yingchen and Shu Chun made a bed on the ground in front of them. They had just fallen asleep for half an hour, and when they were drowsy, they dreamed that Li Ping'er came down from the king, pushed Yingchun, and said, "You stay at home, I'm leaving." Suddenly they woke up and saw that the lamp on the table was still on. They hurriedly looked at the bed, and it was still facing inwards. They touched it and found that there was no breath in its mouth. They didn't know how many hours it took, and they died. It's a pity that such a beautiful woman turned into a spring dream. It's just like this. The king of hell taught you to die at 3 o'clock in the morning. How dare you keep you until 5 o'clock? Yingchun hurriedly woke everyone up, lit a lamp to look, and sure enough, she was dead, with a pool of blood under her body. She was panicked and hurried to the back to report to Simon King. When Simon King heard that Li Ping'er had died, he and Wu Yunyang ran to the front into steps and lifted the quilt, but saw that her face was unchanged. Her body was still slightly warm, and she had passed away leisurely, with only a red silk bodice on her body. Simon King didn't care about the bloodstains under her body, and held her fragrant cheeks with both hands and kissed her, saying, "My hopeless sister, my kind and good sister, why did you leave me? I would rather let Simon King die. I won't live long in this world. What's the point of living in vain?" She jumped 3 feet off the ground in the room and cried loudly. Wu Yunyang also cried and sobbed. Later, Li Zhaoer, Meng Yulu, Pan Junlian, Sun Zui, and the maids and foster mothers of the whole family all cried, and their cries shook the earth. Yu Nang said to the crowd, "I don't know how many of us died, but it just so happens that he didn't even have any clothes on." Yulu said, "I touched his body and it's still warm. He just died not long ago. Why don't we put clothes on him while his feet are warm? What are we waiting for?" Yu Nang saw Simon King kneeling on her, slapping his face and crying, and just shouted, "God kill me, Simon King. Sister, you have been in my house for 3 years, and you haven't had a good day. It's all my fault." Yu Nang felt a little impatient when she heard it, and said, "Look, shout out, cry a few times, and then let go. There is no taboo on a dead person. You just cry with your face slapped. If the evil in your mouth hits you, you will be in trouble. If he doesn't have a good life, who will? When everyone's lifespan is up, who can stop him? Who wouldn't come this way? So she asked Li Jiao, Meng Yulu, you do take the key, go to the room over there to find some clothes for him, and we'll watch him put them on. He called again, Sixth sister, let's go over here and help him put them on. Simon King said to Yu Niang again, find more sets of his favorite clothes for him to wear. Yu Niang ordered Li Jiao and Yulu, find his newly cut bright red satin brocade jacket and willow yellow brocade skirt, as well as the lilac cloud silk embroidered shirt and emerald blue wide-sleeve skirt that he wore when he went to marry his relative this year, and the newly made white silk jacket and yellow silk skirt. At that moment, Yingshan took the lantern, Meng Yulu took the key, went to the room over there, opened the box, searched for half a day, and found 3 sets of clothes, and also found a purple silk jacket, a white silk skirt, a bright red jacket, white silk women's socks, and embroidered knee-length trousers. Li Jiao brought it over to this room to show Yu Niang. Yu Niang and Jin Lian were tidying up his hair under the lamp, tying up a large black handkerchief with 4 gold hairpins, and then they were done. Li Jiao asked, what color shoes should we find for him? Pan Jin Lian said, sister, he likes to wear those red high-soled shoes with gold all over them, but he has only worn them twice. Let's find them for him to wear. Wu Yunang said, no, he won't wear them in the underworld and will jump into the fire pit. You can tie up the purple high-soled shoes with gold all over them that he wore when he went to his sister-in-law's house the day before yesterday. Li Jiao heard this and hurriedly asked Ying Chen to find them. Everyone worked together to tie up the shoes. Simon King led the servants to collect the scrolls and paintings in the hall, put up the curtains, and carried Li Pinger out through the wooden door and put her in the main bedroom. They spread a brocade mattress below and covered it with a paper quilt above, set up a few tables and incense tables, and lit a portable lamp. 2 servants were appointed to serve beside her. One beat the cymbals, the other burned paper, and at the same time, they told Diane, quickly invite Mr. Zhu, the yin and yang master, to come and review the book. Yu Niang packed up her clothes and locked the door of Li Pinger's bedroom, leaving her in the Kang room and handing her over to the maid and foster mother. Seeing that her master was gone, Fang Mama cried with tears in her eyes. Wang Gu muttered to herself, reciting the Heart Sutra of Midro, Medicine Master Sutra, Resolving Grievances Sutra, Lingyan Sutra and Dabai Zhang Dao Shenmen for Li Pinger, asking the Bodhisattva Wang to lead him to the underworld. Simon King was in the front hall, patting his chest, stroking the corpse and crying until his voice was hoarse. He kept saying, my kind and righteous sister. Before the chaos, the cock crowed. Diane invited Mr. Zhu to come, bowed to Simon King, and said, Dad, you are worried. When did Grandma die? Simon King said, this time is not true. When we went to bed, it was already 4 o'clock in the morning. Everyone in the room was sleepy and fast asleep. We don't know how long she died. Mr. Zhu said, it's not a big deal. He ordered his attendants to light the lamps and covered the quilt and looked around. He pinched the time of Chu and said, it was exactly 2 o'clock in the 5th watch, so she died at Chu hour. Simon King immediately ordered them to get a pen and ink stone and asked Mr. Zhu to write something. Mr. Zhu asked for the surname and date of birth under the lamp and wrote down, the funeral of the late Lady Li of Jinyi Ximen. She was born at noon on the 15th day of the 1st lunar month in the year of Shenwei in the Yuanyu period, and died at the year of Chu on the 16th day of the 9th lunar month in the year of Ding Yuan, the Zhang period. Today is Bingzi, and the month is Wexu, which offends the heaven and earth, and the death. The evil spirit is 10 feet high. The family should avoid crying, but it will be fine after the mourning period. When burying the body, avoid people born in the years of dragon, tiger, chicken and snake, and relatives should not avoid it. Wu Yunyang sent Diane to come, ask Mr. Zhu to look at the black book and see which direction it went. Mr. Zhu opened the yin-yang secretary to look at it. He said, today is the Bingzi day. Yi Chuer, the deceased corresponds to the Aquarius Palace above, and the Qi land below. In the previous life, she was a man in the Wang family of Binzhou, and killed a pregnant Yu. In this life, she is a woman, and her zodiac sign is sheep. Although she married a noble husband, she often suffers from diseases, and her peers are not harmonious. Her children died young, and she died of a disease caused by anger. 9 days ago, her soul left, and she was reborn as a girl in the Yuan family of Kaifeng Prefecture in Bianling, Henan. She had a hard time making ends meet. Later, she stayed in the imperial court until she was 20 years old and married into a rich family. The old and young were not suitable, and she enjoyed happiness all year round. She lived to the age of 42 and died of anger. After reading the Black Book, all the women sighed. Simon King asked Mr. Zhu to find the date for the burial. Mr. Zhu asked, "Father, when will the body be laid to rest?" Simon King cried, "Why did Rita to send the body away so quickly? We have to wait until the 5th and 7th day." Mr. Zhu said, "There is no burial date within the 5th and 7th day, but within the 4th and 7th day, it is advisable to choose the 8th day of the 10th month, Dingyu, at noon, and the 12th day, Shinshu, at noon, for the 6 family members to be buried. It will not violate their zodiac signs." Simon King said, "Well, we will hold the funeral on the 12th day of the 10th month. There is no need to delay it." Mr. Zhu wrote a list of disasters and covered the body of the deceased. He said to Simon King, "The funeral will be held at noon on the 19th day. All necessary things, Father, please prepare them." Just as Mr. Zhu was sent out, it was already dawn. Simon King sent Qin Tunger to the front to invite Uncle Hua outside the door, and then divided into groups to send people to each relative to announce the death. He also sent someone to the government office to give him leave, and sent Diane to Shizi Street to get 20 barrels of bleached yarn and 30 barrels of raw eye cloth. He asked Zhao Kai to hire many tailors to make curtains, tents, and tablecloths in the West Wing, and also put in the coffin clothes, quilts and belts, and the women's clothes and skirts in each room, and the servants outside. Each of them was wearing a white tang scarf and a white straight gown. He also exchanged 100 taels of silver and asked Ben Si to go to the store outside the door to buy 30 barrels of Quiguang linen and 200 rolls of yellow silk morning silk. At the same time, he asked the colorist to build 5 large sheds in the courtyard. Simon King was thinking about Li Ping'er's movements, and suddenly remembered that he had forgotten to paint her spirit. He called Lai Bo and asked, "Where is a good painter? Find one to paint her spirit. I forgot about this matter." Lai Bo said, "Han Shunair, who used to paint the screen for our family, was originally a painter in Zhuan Palace. He was dismissed from his job. He painted her spirit well." Simon King said, "Where does he live? Invite him quickly." Lai Bo agreed and laughed. Simon King had been up all night, and had been in a mess for 15 hours. He was in grief again, and his mind was confused. He was just angry. He scolded the maids and kicked the servants. He was guarding Li Ping'er's body and crying loudly. Diane was beside him, crying and unable to speak. Wu Yunyang was behind the tent with Li Zhaoer, Meng Yulu, and Pan Jinlian, sharing the mourning with the maids and wives of the family members in each room. Seeing Simon King crying with a hoarse throat, she asked him, but he refused to drink tea and was just angry. Yu Niang said, "Look, you are nagging me so much. He is dead. Why do you cry about him? You just keep crying. You haven't slept for 2 or 3 nights. You haven't combed your hair. You haven't washed your face. You are still so sleepy at this hour. And you haven't tasted the spicy water yet. Even a strong man can't stand it. Comb your hair and come out to eat something. You have a small body. You fell down. What will happen?" Yulu said, "So he hasn't combed his hair or washed his face yet?" Yu Niang said, "It would be better if he washed his face. I asked the servant to ask him to wash his face in the back, but he kicked the servant in. Who can ask him to come now?" Jinlian said, "You haven't seen it yet. I told him with good intentions that he was dead. You got up like this and made his bones bald. The meat is gone. You can eat something in the room, and it won't be too late to go out and make trouble." He opened his eyes red and scolded me. "You bitch. What's your business? Now I don't teach the dog to fight all day. So who should I teach? Such an unreasonable trafficker. Just say that people are angry with him." Yu Nyang said, "It's so hot. How can it not hurt? Even if you are in pain, you still keep it in your heart. Why do you show it like this? The person is dead, no matter whether there is evil or not. He is still yelling and crying. I don't know what's going on. He hasn't had a good day in the 3 years since he came here. Do you make him carry water and grind it all day long? Meng Yulu said. Sister Li is fine, but she has to eat his father's 3 weight for the 9 grid one. As he was talking, Chen Qingji came with 9 pieces of glossy silk in his hand and said, Dad will teach Mom to cut the handkerchiefs for each room, and the rest will be made into skirts for Mom. Yu Niang took the silk and said, Brother-in-law, go and invite your dad to come in for a meal. It's already noon, and he hasn't even had tea yet. Jingji said, I dare not invite him. The servant invited him to dinner before and almost kicked him to death. Why should I bother him again? Yu Niang said, if you don't invite him, wait for me to send someone else to invite him to dinner. After a long time, she called Diane and said, your dad hasn't eaten yet and has been crying all day. You bring the food and eat with him while Mr. Wen is here. Diane said, I went to invite second Master Ying and Master Z. When they came, I sent someone to bring the food up. They ate without saying a word. Wu Yunyang said, you bastard, are you the worm in your father's stomach? My wives are not as good as you. How did you know that they would come to eat? Diane said, Mother, don't you know that they are good friends of father? And they are not missing at banquets? Father has 3 cents. He also has 3 cents. Father has 2 stars. He also has 2 stars. Father asked why he was angry, but he came and said a few words, and father smiled. After talking for a while, the chessboy invited Ying Boju and Seaside to come. After entering the house, he fell to the ground in front of the coffin and cried for half a day, crying only for my kind and righteous sister-in-law. Jinlian and Yula scolded him. You slick-tongued prisoner. Are we all unkind and righteous? After crying, the 2 got up. Simon King returned the gift to him, and the 2 cried again, saying, Brother, I am worried. At the same time, he led him to the side room and sat down to greet Wen Shukai. First, the Earl asked, when did my sister-in-law die? Simon King said, she died at 12 p.m. The Earl said, it was already 4 o'clock when I got home. The people in the room asked me, and I said that according to the Yinzi, my sister-in-law's illness was already 7 or 8 years old. I didn't expect that. I had a dream just after I went to bed. I dreamed that my brother asked a senior official to invite me, saying that he was having a celebration banquet at home, and asked me to come in a hurry. I saw my brother wearing a bright red dress, and took out 2 jade hairpins from his sleeves to show me, saying that one was broken. I looked at it for a long time and said to my brother, what the pity, the broken one is jade, and the intact one is glass. My brother said that the hairpins are all made of jade. When I woke up, I knew that this dream was not good. The servant saw me smacking my lips and asked, who are you talking to? I said, you don't know. I will tell you at dawn. When dawn came, I saw the high official arrived, wearing white, which made me stamp my feet. As expected, my brother has mourning clothes. Shi Menking said, I had the same dream last night, and it was the same as yours. I dreamed that 6 hairpins were sent from my relative Zai in Tokyo, and one of them was broken. I said, what a pity. I woke up and told the servants, but I didn't expect that he had died. He was so reluctant to open his eyes. God, you have left me so miserable. I would rather Simon King died, so I can't see him anymore. Tomorrow, when I think about him for a moment, how can I not feel sad? I have never owed anyone anything in the past. Why did God take away the one I love so much today? First, a child died, and today he has grown up and passed away. What is the point of me living in this world? Even if I have more money than the Big Dipper, what's the use? The Earl said, Brother, what you said is not right. My sister-in-law and you were such a good couple, and she died suddenly. How can you not feel sad? But you have such a big family and a future to worry about. This family, big or small, Mount Tai is leaning on you. If anything happens to you, what will happen? Even these sisters-in-law have no master. As the saying goes, if one is alive, all 3 are alive. If one is gone, all 3 are gone. Brother, you are smart and kind. Why do you need your brothers to say so much? Even if your sister-in-law is young, you love her so much and cannot overcome your feelings for her. You have made her mourn and asked monks and Taoists to recite some scriptures for her, and buried her in a grave. Your heart has been broken, And it is also a matter for your sister-in-law. What else can you ask for? Brother, just let go of your heart." At that time, Simon King was enlightened by the Earl's words and stopped crying. After a while, he brought tea and called Diane. "We'll talk later. Bring the meal. I'll eat with you." Second Father Ying, Master Wen, and Father Z. The Earl said, "Brother, you haven't eaten yet." Simon King said, "Since you left, there has been a mess all night. Who has eaten anything since then?" The Earl said, "Brother, you haven't eaten yet. This is absurd. As the saying goes, it is better to lose money than to starve. Doesn't the book of filial piety say, 'Teach people not to harm life with death and destroy nature'? Those who die will die, and those who live will have to live. Brother, you have to be a master. It is just like this. A few words clear the way for a gentleman, and a few words awaken a dreamer."
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.